Shannon is here. I'm just going to update you all on the mics. So you do have to have the mic fairly close to you. You can't, if you sit back in your chair, people who are watching remotely will not be able to hear you. So just make sure that when you're talking that you're towards your mic. They're always on. You'll see the green light. If you need to button there and let it go, and it automatically comes back on. And the other ones were opposite. So just want to make sure you realize that. So leaning in to make sure you can be heard. And if you need to mute it, just press that. I'll ask Shannon, how are we sounding? Shannon, can you hear us okay? Maybe she's not right there yet.
Yes, I'm right here. Sorry. I can hear you just fine. Thank you.
Screen, it shows the attendance over to the side so you all can see who's here as well. Hi.
Can you hear and see? Okay. No?
Hear you? We could hear you. We hear you.
Okay, thank you.
I should have given you this packet earlier, but I will hold on to it for you. Well, we don't have a chair or vice chair, so I just opened the meeting myself, but normally that's something that people in that position would do. So that is an item that we need to discuss this evening. It's not formally on the agenda, but as time goes on, before we leave today, we should, well, there's only 5 of you, so I'm not really sure how, like I said, you could appoint someone who's not here, but I don't think that that's fair. So just put that in the back of your mind. And let's talk about the name of the committee. And during the last meeting, during our first meeting, we talked about the village committee versus downtown. And there was some consensus around downtown, utilizing downtown. And so, but we wanted to continue the discussion. So if we could weigh in and see where you're at. If you wanted to use downtown, then we would need to ask the council to officially change the name. Because on the charge and then on the website, in different places where the committee is noted, it does say the village committee. So I don't know if anyone has had a chance to think about that and would like to weigh in.
So this is on,
Yes, correct.
so I think Nikki particularly and I both had a real issue with the village part. We've never really been known as a village. We've always been known as a town. And I think that when I've talked to people in the community, they go, village, where'd the village come? So I'm really going to be solid against using the word village. I really think we are a town. We've always been a town. We're known as a town. And that's the common word that you hear at almost everything. I'd like to see it change to that.
I would support that as well. I mean, every time I hear about Winthrop, it's always the town of Winthrop.
I don't have a preference, but
I'll go either way.
Go back through my notes because there were people who were specific on it. I think the majority at that time did want to have downtown, but you all just wanted a little more time to think about it. I think based on this evening and when I go back to my notes, I'm feeling fairly confident that downtown is the one that the majority of the committee wanted to go with. So then in that instance, I will write a memo. I'll confirm from my notes and I will put a memo together to the council and ask them to please change the committee name. And I'm going to put something out there that we may want to add to that request is that it's a 10-member committee. And we have 8 members right now. It's been very difficult, as you know, to try to get together. My recommendation would be that we ask the council to leave it at 8 because 10 is just going to make it harder to get everyone together and meet. So that's my personal preference. And it's really up to the committee because you do want a good cross section of people. So you don't want to have it so small that it's limited. I feel like when you went around and did introductions last time, it was pretty impressive what a cross section there was. People had a variety of backgrounds. So if you guys want to discuss that and feel comfortable one way or another, I mean, you could leave it as is. And they'll still be looking for 2 volunteers, or if you ask them to put it at 8, it might be easier to get together.
Maybe we can add them as 2 alternates. that we have the additional people power if needed. I don't know if that works, but I know the planning board does that.
The planning board is quasi judicial and they have to vote and take
Okay,
action, so they
yeah.
have to have a majority. This is advisory. So we don't actually take votes, so we wouldn't need
Hmm.
the alternates.
It was hard to schedule a meeting. It's very hard. And
Because it's been since April.
yeah,
And I know that Anthony was trying and he sent out some different
Right,
polls
right.
and that. We finally just picked a date.
maybe they leave it at 8 to 10. That way, if there's interest and someone wants to join, once we get rolling,
Not necessarily actively recruit, we can just give that feedback.
yeah, I think,
And Shannon is here. I don't know if so Shannon is the council liaison and I don't want to put her on the spot, but she's hearing what we're saying. So a memo that I put forward, she'll have heard firsthand what the discussion is, but I don't know, Shannon, if you have any suggestions for us on that?
Is this for the downtown revitalization name change?
Name change, the majority seems to be downtown, but we were just talking about the number of people. It's a 10-member committee. We had a really hard time getting a group of folks who could get together. So we haven't met since April, our first meeting, because it's just a lot of people. So I was just suggesting maybe keep it at 8 instead of 10 because we can't get 8 together as it is.
Yeah, I think it would be fine.
The way it's worded now, it says up to 10.
Does say up to 10?
Yeah,
Okay.
We don't need to.
So just not actively recruit, but not turn people down if they want to.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Good. Right, then, moving on. I'm just going to run down my notes on the agenda of what I anticipated the discussion would look like. We talked about the name change. And I mentioned my thoughts on the size of the committee. It sounds like that's clear. The charge of the committee. So do you all, at the last meeting, you received this Village Revitalization Committee. Do you all have that? I made copies of a bunch of things, but this is not. Let me just make a quick.
Reading in this edition that was pulled together in 1999. And it's like 3 pages in on the handout. Ridiculous. Some other things happened. Really interesting to read. All set.
Okay. So my notes were just referencing what would need to be changed if it was changed to downtown. And then the question about the 8 to 10. Down the bottom, under operations, it indicates that the committee will propose a vision statement for the downtown to the town council. What you do have in front of you, in this information you're just receiving tonight, I don't anticipate that you would be able to have a full discussion on this. I wanted to just bring up the topic, kind of go over what the information is, hand out some information to you, and bring it forward at the next meeting. But as far as that task, the 2000 plan, there's a copy of that vision statement in your packet of information.
Fabulous.
It is.
Visioning session. Maybe I'm looking at the visioning session, but is that what you mean?
Yeah, so the vision is the majority of the page.
Yeah.
And I gave you a copy of the entire 2000 plan as well.
Right.
Some people wanted it just digitally, but I think it's handy to have it and mark it up when we're at the meeting together. So you have a copy of the recently adopted comprehensive plan vision statement. So this was just adopted by the town council. And this is the vision statement from 2020. So here is what I'm asking that the committee undertake. Is to look at the comp plan statement and the downtown statement. Because one is 20 years old, I feel like a lot of the downtown plan is still relevant, and there are things that could still be initiated. My question is, we will have a public input process, we will have a visioning process, but I feel that we should keep acting on the plan that exists until we make those changes. So if you all could review the vision statement with the mindset of, is this still relevant? And is it in conflict with the updated comprehensive plan? And when you come to a conclusion, would be my suggestion that we move forward in that direction. That makes sense?
You're saying this one compare. Okay.
Yes, I did put
Yep.
the date on this one, so it's a small statement, it's very, very broad. Whereas the downtown one is more specific, it's a
Yep.
more defined area. But so the comprehensive plan has to go to the state, make sure it's meets certain requirements. And all of our ordinances and plans that come from that have to be consistent with the comprehensive plan, like our zoning, any open space plan that we may come up with, et cetera. So it has to be consistent with our comprehensive plan. So I want to make sure the vision is still consistent because we have a new vision statement. It is a good vision statement.
The new vision statement complements the existing. Would almost keep the old one, but detailed as far as what the group has to offer. It's interesting. A lot of cool things.
I really think as we go through, there's a lot of relevant information. Like there'll be the inventory of the downtown infrastructure and buildings like that'll need to be updated. You know, there are certain elements you'll want to revisit. Do you want to do surveys again? You know, visioning process, but generally there's work to be done with what we have, I believe. Okay.
We, Pat Savory and I were both as a plan, and we did take, I don't know, over 100 questionnaires to the downtown whole area from heads all the way to the top of the hill.
Public participation is really,
And we, we hand delivered them with a self-addressed envelope and asked them. Really, we tried to make it as simple. One, it wasn't a really long questionnaire.
Mhm.
I think we felt just that was going to be ignored. So the ones that answered them, though, they had some really good ideas.
mhm.
And some of the comprehensive things that we have, I think they're included. So, and that was just last winter. So it's relatively new and new businesses as well. So some of the answers were did and some kind of unique and different. So
That takes a lot of energy to do that. And
time doing it that day. We walked Main Street, which,
It's a very
everybody
fun
needs to walk Main Street.
I was thinking that that's a great task that we should do anyway, whether we're doing a survey or whatever, but just stop in and say, hi, this is happening. Great. If you have input, tell us. Maybe we could have an online portal that people.
I have to say, I've been doing this for 20 years and there's no magic bullet that I've seen yet. I mean, it does help with the digital information being available. It helps if you have a meeting with food and babysitting available, but there isn't one thing that, but so we'll just do our best to beat the bushes. Sounds like I'm doing that quite recently. Yeah. Okay. So you got the the vision statements. And the next item was the discussion of the status of the 2000 downtown revitalization plan. So you have a hard copy of that. And what I believe needs to be done is we need to go through those strategies and determine the status of each actionable item. And so some of them are going to be done. And the ones that aren't done, again, that exercise of making sure there's no conflict with what the strategy is and what other elements are in place, comprehensive plan, the zoning. So is it completed? If it's not, is it still relevant? And then updating the table with that information. And then with things that aren't done, really like to be able to glean out why. There were blockades, and it's important to know that, I think, because as we move forward, we don't want to put energy where not necessary because we need it for other areas. So my thought on that is not just knowing if it's done, but knowing why.
There's one thing that I've noticed recently. I don't know how many of you know Jim that walks with his dog who's blind.
Jim King, yeah.
And I was at a Thomas agency one early meeting and walked right into a pole, light pole. I think we have to address our sooner rather than later. Never realized that until that. He uses a cane to know where to step and where not to step. And the dog is good, but there are still challenges for him, particularly. There may be others that I don't see, or I really think that's a crucial thing that.
Absolutely. Strollers, wheelchairs, I mean, there's so many elements that restrict populations. And I've actually had quite extensive conversations with Jim recently. He's on the planning board in his experiences downtown, because the town, this is a good time for me to formally drop this in. The town is in the process of requesting grant money from the Maine Department of Transportation for sidewalk improvement. And in the design, it would be designed in compliance with the ADA requirements. And so actually a letter has been requested from Jim to support requesting of the money. And so that's something I want to ask all of you tonight, if there would be formal support. And if there is, I would put a letter together for our new chair to sign. So I suspect that there will be support because that's part of what our charge is. So again, you need to figure out who's going to run these meetings, but I will put something together, then we'll submit that with the grant application. I also noted that the 1987 plan, there are quite a few that carried forward, and because we're not undertaking a whole starting fresh plan, I just felt like it was reinforcing to see that there was support consistently through for some of these things, and it just reinforces that we need that impetus to keep going. So I was identifying ones that carried forward. That was just a note.
So 19.
That, I took a list of what everyone wanted, and I was not able to make those copies yet,
Okay.
but it's so that it's the older plan, and I did not copy that for you. And then the last note that I have as far as getting started is the study area. So the downtown plan identifies an area that you're looking at to make changes. And I think that we should just take a look at that and make sure that that is still the. It's not, I don't know that it's mapped.
All of the maps I've seen. With Norcross Point. But
I don't believe it does include Norcross Point.
Probably.
Yeah, it seems like it should. Yeah, maybe that's a. Downtown. Well, it seems like it should be all of Main Street from the stores to 133. That's the thing.
Unclear because it always used to be you went through resident. So
Not true
that
now.
all the time. There's out of state cards.
Enforcing it.
Exactly.
Now,
Be a little concerned. Probably gonna get worse. Be at the lake if they want to be at a beach. Very strict. Yes.
Special sticker.
So I'm going to revisit, I know that we have maps in that plan that you have a copy of, but where the downtown revitalization is, because there was a whole separate process that was done with a consultant. And there was a specific plan drawn up that speaks to street furniture and street trees and sidewalks. And some of this has been completed. And this is another one of those areas where we want to make sure it's still relevant moving forward. 48 Main Street is no longer targeted as a property for the town to purchase. So that's just a fact that's changed and some things around that, but this is a task moving forward. And this is not the study area. So I know it's described in the plan, and I'm not sure if I have that mapped, but if not, I will make that happen. And then we can analyze it together.
be nice to have a Google map block that we can use too, that goes the bigger space going, I'd say from Hannaford down to 133 and out to Norcross Point, and then we could talk about other areas that really ought to be included.
I'm going to step away for just a moment because I have a
Yeah.
map in my office.
Mhm. Okay. The railroad tracks in the west end of Main Street are not attractive. Very true. At
Same.
least there's
Please
at
hate
least,
them. Has anybody been over them? I haven't. I've
I
avoided them.
know, I
No.
haven't,
I
but
go
at least there's a crosswalk.
Are they better?
Fast enough. Yes.
Oh, yes.
It is.
Downtown, that's what we're talking about.
Looks like it's fairly recent because it has all the new intersections up on 202. Not too, yeah.
Sir, you were all here at the last meeting, correct? A couple of handouts for people in case they weren't here.
We expand what the downtown is, though. Expand summary of everything else.
Yep.
That'll-
You
When
could,
I did the comprehensive plan, railroad track, putting Ted's and that's what I
Seems seems like it's a good discussion though for the committee to say, so what really do we consider? Because now, you know, the high school is there, but there's kind of a wide area that constitutes our downtown.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to making it bigger and smaller.
Right, right.
So that's something I'll put on the next agenda. And I'll come up with another type of map, and then we can use those to
Yeah.
facilitate that.
Great.
Yes, the town hall closes at noon, but I'll be here. Oh, great. Okay. Yeah. Great, thank you.
Nice to see that some of the vision in this came true.
Mhm.
The library's expanded as a useful place and things that happen.
Managed to keep the post office downtown. That's a huge anchor.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, improved.
Rebuilt and
Rebuilt, yeah, rebuilt twice. That was
That-
crazy. It's great.
Identifying short-term goals. I came up with a little list of subcommittees that might be able to address some things that might have more of an immediate impact. One of the things that the main downtown group that we're working with, that we're a member of, stressed was trying to do something that has a little punch, something visual, so people will know something's going on. Could be something as simple as, and I'm just going to make this up, hanging flower baskets or flags on the poles, which I know that we have, but something that will bring people's attention, something that's low hanging fruit isn't a big cost that can be done well. So I think that should be a consideration, what we can do so that people catches their eye and says something's going on.
You've seen the pots that, oh,
The pots?
yeah, they're flower pots.
Oh, yeah.
They've got the signs on all the light poles, like the big painted flowers.
I saw those, yeah.
Maybe we could target benches or something like that. That's expensive.
Or maybe
But-
in the fall. And I don't know,
Yeah.
so that who all participates in that? Because I know there are different things that happen now. There's scarecrows last year, right?
It's the Grange, was Dot saying earlier. The flowers on the like post. Ooh,
Somebody doesn't like what we're discussing, some historical figure. Yeah.
we're talking about them. I belong to the Kennebec Vance Garden
Hi.
Club, and
She's here for real.
she's here.
Wow.
So we have a member who lives in Winthrop. Her name is Deb Sherman, and she is on a scholarship committee group and to raise money, kind of like Hollowell has flower or the chairs, and Augusta has the fish. She proposed the flowers, and she wanted all the kids to be part of that. So they were the fifth grade. It's here.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's all I'll say. But no, I had met with Nicole because she wanted to know, we used to have a garden club or in Winthrop. People in Winthrop that want to belong to a garden club belongs to the Kennebec Valley one. And so she wanted to do those pots. And we just never got together. She just decided one day she was just gonna go get it done, and I'm glad she did, because I think it really, but that is a big interest for me. I really think we need, and if I haven't said this in front of this committee, you'd be the only ones who haven't heard this. But, and I'm not against celebrating our children and they have successes, but when you go down through Down Street the day after there's been a celebration with the ticket tape, and it's all over everything, the little tape, like they have things that they blow, and it's everywhere. I mean, everywhere, and it stays. And I've said, I'm not against celebrating, but maybe we could find something that's biodegradable within 24 hours. And or the parents should come back and clean it up the next day. Because it is our downtown area and they stay and there's other things that, you know. In last 3 years, my biggest bugaboo has been just before the art show. Downtown is not pretty. And I have talked to Matt Burnham and he's been really good about going along and rates and the grass that grows up. But we need to address those kind of things. I mean, appearance is everything. We really need to work on a lot of that too.
That is important for any number of reasons, but knowing where the gateways are. I worked to create a garden club in Old Orchard Beach when I worked there, and we started planting daffodils at the gateways. And then they disbanded after I left, but they planted quite a few. The idea being in the spring, that boom.
Shannon and I worked last year several times just before and we cleaned up the little area across the parking lot downtown, where the law office is. But it takes a village. That's a big problem.
Is there any entity who, so it sounds like there's all different groups involved in different times of the year of decorating elements of the downtown. Is there someone who kind of oversees that, coordinates that?
I've been asking that.
I wonder if it's this, but you don't want to step on toes either, right? People are, seems like there should be some entity that oversees that so you know what's happening when, and so we can fill in the gaps.
Just, yeah. One knows who.
It's a mystery.
Strange.
Cool question. Just, there doesn't appear to be one entity that oversees when there's decorations downtown.
There's a,
So in order to not step on toes, would it be appropriate for this group to ask the council to be the overseers and to facilitate that, or that this calendar of that? Right, we'll put that in a memo as well.
Might be helpful with coordination and knowing what's going up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that there's, I mean, there's so much heart in this community. And there's
Yes.
people who are willing to do it,
Yeah.
clearly.
Yeah.
Because they do, because they do.
Yes.
So, okay, well, we'll put that on our list.
We need a vision and a plan to kind of coordinate everybody.
but this is pretty cool. It talks about short-term action goals and it's a little the same thing.
Page you want?
Towards the middle, so it's 2-2,
Oh, yeah.
page after the visioning. 1, clean up the appearance of Main Street. About spending some time. Increasing the number of fairs and festivals. We have Chamber puts on the art show. The fireworks. But there's a lot of other things that when it talks about sailing school, is there any sailing to school then? Has
So
there also been?
Sailing and rowing, I see in the vision. I love it.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
neither of it.
Say that I was at a mural meeting. And I will say too, we have a hard time getting very low on what less than half.
Show?
So
It
that's-
was, yeah.
Is there something going on at that time somewhere else, maybe?
Well, I brought that up because I do know there's a big ballot. There's also another.
Balloon Festival, Lewiston, the Balloon Festival.
Yes, correct.
And
I
and
knew
that's
there
the,
was.
something in, usually, well,
Right, but that.
Blueberry Festival. So
that
we
around
talked
the
about
same
changing the
thing.
weekend. It's
No,
rebranding.
They figured something
Mhm.
out. It
The
was
town putting it on.
canceled.
But we were hoping to get a lot of there for the art show, but
We can't co-opt the balloon festival out of Norcross,
No,
football field in Norcross Point.
and please don't. Racist.
No?
Races.
Years ago.
It's
Hydroplane
stored there.
boats. They
Interesting.
used to have a race on the lake. Again, it was like a bunch of bumblebees were released.
standards.
See, are there a lot of snowmobiles that come through town?
Well, when there's snow.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Because
when
I know
there's ice,
previously-
when there's ice.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
It hasn't been good in a couple of years.
I lived in Meredith, New
This
Hampshire
year.
for a while. State of New Hampshire. But they have a contest throughout the whole state. And there's big prizes, and the town of Meredith made a big event out of it. Of ice shacks, and the people use the businesses in the village. Didn't know if there was already things like that go on. Yeah, you're right. The snow hasn't been.
Yep,
No
like a fishing
festival.
derby and stuff like that.
Derby,
here.
yes.
Yeah. But during that time, it's pretty busy.
Go further
Swing
north.
to a club here. Oh,
There's loads of shacks out. It's not really a festival.
no, it's-
I'm up. It's just was.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
That's
Scary. I did not go out on the lake. Really do all that.
obviously.
It's so nice. That would be great.
Instead of,
There used to be one downtown. In Manchester, that's where it was.
Nice if it could be the one on the lake, but can't count on it.
it'd be great.
Thing.
Bean has it. And they're little, it's awful. Yeah,
Oh.
I'm watching people try and skate on it and no, if
For
to
trees.
do it, make it ice. Don't do something. Yeah, anything, but
How
It's-
much meat?
I have no idea. I
Yeah,
just was
another
watching
question.
people try and skate and it looked awful. I love to skate, so.
You're right.
Ice was better. A wild ice festival would be great. There's a lot of interest in the state about wild ice, but,
What is wild ice?
well, like skating up Maranacook.
Oh,
and
oh,
It's
oh,
actually
okay.
frozen ice.
It's actual real, yeah. You're a kid.
I've done it.
I remember watching
Amazing.
You know, I'm trying to be sensitive to the fact that at the last meeting, you guys had said an hour, and I tend to
Oh,
get
yeah.
sidetracked and going on, so, feel like everyone's comfortable with downtown and asking the council for that change. And then asking the council if this group can be responsible for overseeing timing of when decorations go downtown. And what we need to do then is reach out to the individual groups. And it's that, I want to make sure that no one feels slighted. So that will have to be done carefully. But you all know who's doing that for the most part, it sounds like. So we can put that list together and so that's information that'll go to the council. Do chew on that, the visions statements more for the next meeting. It sounds like everyone's pretty much in agreement that it's keeping and that the existing vision statement is still good until we have a time in the future when we have more public input, see what folks have to say in addition to that. And then the strategies, looking to make sure there isn't conflict. I think this to me is a subcommittee, be a subcommittee if there was one or two people who wanted to get together and look at that. And then an inventory update as to what's in town. And I'm happy to participate in that, but it doesn't seem like something that would be practical for them to do. So because there's only some of us here, agree in concept that that would be something to look at, then I'll put it on the agenda for next time. We'll see if there are people who want to participate. Okay. So the four things I had identified as focus on were wayfinding signs, so defining that area and start with wayfinding signs. Did I just talk about this already? Wayfinding? So if you go to Freeport, say, they have signs in Yarmouth, they have signs that are consistent through the town, which tell you directions to go to the high school, to downtown, to, you know, maybe a park. And it's consistent, and Falmouth just did it too. So when you go someplace, it points you to where you want to go. Oh, the farmer's market is this way. And so it's coming up with what the design is. It's a theme kind of that would bring the downtown together. You know, you could point out the beach, you know, the playground, or however that looks, that would be to be decided, but it really can visually bring the community, the area together, and it's very practical as well. So there's definitely a creative element to that of what those signs would look like. And then where they would go, and then how much it would cost. And then you could always, you know, take it a step further and have a map, and those are down the road types of things. But talking about wayfinding, we already have talked about decorative elements, the gateways, and then updating the inventory. So I feel like I've already identified a bunch of things that we can do. And at the next meeting, maybe you could decide if you want to do them as a committee. And if in fact that's not practical, maybe people could decide if they want to participate in the individual task. Delegate. I feel like I have a charge as to what the agenda looks like moving forward. I did put out notes this evening from the last meeting, so if you could just look at those before the next meeting, I'll have tonight's notes for you. So at the next meeting, there'll be 2 sets of minutes too, in addition to the things that we're talking about here. I'm gonna sit back for a minute and let you guys actually. Does anybody have things they want to bring up or ideas or direction? Very quiet.
Yeah.
Talking.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff in this. A lot of it hasn't been done yet, and carry forward, update it.
Yeah.
Civics.
No need to start fresh is, I guess, where my
Well,
first thought was, well, this is great, let's just.
Yeah, there's a lot of great ideas. A couple of things just need to just a little bit.
Looks very today.
And it's really nice to see that some of it did get done. It's useful work, not just paper.
At some point it got set aside, and it may just have to be conjecture. Maybe we will never know, but it would be nice to know what happened. Did people get burnt out? Was there, whatever, why did the town lose interest in pursuing the rest of them? And it could just be something as simple as that. They didn't have, or just to try to identify if there's something that we're going to have to work through that they ran into previously. So we do have the names of the people who were on the committee that created this, as well as the 1987 plan still around. I think I had mentioned maybe we could tap into them and see what the process looked like for them, pros and cons, lessons learned. I three-hole punch information generally. I like to put stuff in a binder. If anyone's interested in a binder, happy to bring one to the next meeting.
I have plenty.
Me too.
You got the downtown part. Did-
We did do it, but just last,
Where's that? Oh, okay.
41.
One.
definitely. I know Pat Saber. A comprehensive. Still significant.
Mm.
The lights are definitely the lights that are downtown are a result of this, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, those are pretty recent. Yeah, but
I'll get more information and have a status update on that for you next time. It's because the application's still being put together. So what they request actually, so you can see that we're hoping to get the funding for.
it's 48 Main. Know that. I keep seeing it come up as being,
Building that,
We did, and Robert owns it. Some residences.
which one is it? What is it?
Yeah. You keep us posted?
Which building is it? Oh, okay, thank you. What I needed. Thank you. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Old Penniman building.
Thank you.
Young.
What's the name?
Mary Richards. Well, they were looking for the murals.
Yeah, they were looking at
Did.
much of it that was left.
Is it really Rufus Porter? Really done by Rufus Porter? Don't know.
Originally did.
Oh, I bet.
I've been in that building for many, many years, but when I was in my 20s, I tend to have had enough. They were big, big rooms. The heat. For doing that.
Too bad our density wasn't higher. when you applied. Another discussion, the planning board's looking at some zoning amendments. And part of what they're doing would be very appropriate for this week and weigh in. So when it comes to the different districts, there's bulk and space requirements, height, and density, which is how much land area you need for a dwelling unit. And the village district consistently throughout the plans, the revitalization plans, calls for an increase in density in the village district. So that discussion should occur fairly soon, and the board has already started talking about it. But the question is, what is that number? What is the yeah. It's much more limiting than people think. So it is actually the highest density allowance in the town. But here's an example. There's someone who owns the television that wants to put some units in, and he's got 5,000 square feet, and he has very little land. He's only allowed to put 2 in under a current. And the
Huh.
48 Main Street,
Yeah,
he got
that's crazy.
You end up with 7. You wanted 12. Yeah,
Oh, because of that requirement.
yeah.
That is really limiting.
So if the town really wants, more people living downtown, it makes more active, makes it safer because you have people there. So there's a lot of pros, and of course, there's fear around it too, because it's great to talk about. When you start to implement it, people get nervous. So it's very appropriate for this committee to participate in that zoning around the village. So I would hope that
The other part must be
correct.
Just the amount of land. So old school at this point. It is.
like a lot.
It is a lot.
You're probably doing 1 and 2.
Things I talked to the planning board about at a meeting last night, but the one before was a build-out analysis. And, a build-out analysis, so let's say we take the village, this is what our zoning allows, maximized for the current, so you'd have to take out, not that there is necessarily any that about wetlands, steep slopes, take out the unbuildable. And then you look at your density allowance and your setbacks, and you come up with, it's a kind of a crude number. But you use as a basis as moving forward and making your decision. So if I change the zoning, this is the alternative. And so to use that, so people moving forward, but it's absolutely correct that it's really difficult now for people to use the upper floors of those buildings if they aren't already apartments. Is it that?
One.
Vanilla.
That's right, it was there, right?
Would have been 50 something.
Any of that is,
No, that when I was in.
is there any way that's related to Cobussy Watershed District? Because I know that they have been very active in rulemaking to protect the lakes over time.
Stream
I don't
is
know if
there.
that- Oh, yeah, there's all of that. I'm just wondering if that
Well, the
requirement came from,
ordinance
that
has a
number.
maximum coverage allowance
yeah,
because when there's impervious area,
right,
runoff.
right.
So that would be more related to the environment. I don't believe, because I've worked with them some, and actually we looked at a potential project with Bill Monagle.
Yeah.
And he actually see more flexibility in the coverage than I had initially thought in going with the science background. So I
Yeah.
don't think that that's the
Okay.
issue.
Interesting. Wonder where it came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And parking is another big one. Thing is,
Oh, back for parking.
they'll get difficult too, because as you get closer to something, then see what the potential. So having visual aids when it comes to that point of, well, we may actually consider these zoning amendments. Having visual aids like a landscape architect or artist renderings together, can help give people some more comfort level of further along. That may be something you want. So, I know I'm all over the place. Do you have, do you feel like I'm heading in the right direction with an agenda for the next meeting of the things we've kind of talked about and I'm moving forward? Do you feel like,
Having this history is very helpful. I feel like we don't have to start from ground zero. We can go through this and go, this was effective. These things didn't happen. These things are probably off the table. And tune it that way and then revision what should be added.
yeah, because we'll definitely want to have public process. I do believe we can get this ball rolling and something that we're going to address, A lot of times, if we didn't have a plan, we'd be starting more with it. This is good news. Okay, I have a question because it has been hard to get everyone together, and I don't recall, you had some standing dates, like days of the week. Were Wednesdays, did anyone have standing commitments on Wednesday?
Just one. Last one of the month is the credit, but we're usually done by 5:30.
No? Okay.
Would anybody consider, and this is just putting a flyer out there, like a noontime Zoom or something as an occasionally way to do it? I know
mean,
some things that I
definitely
do, we do it that way and sometimes it can work. Yeah,
We
I mean,
could
I don't
even,
mind even being here, but
we could
know that-
even do it here and
Yeah.
then people could attend by Zoom or in person. Anthony
Yeah.
did a meeting earlier today in this room with via Zoom. It occurred to me until. I don't know how to folks. That would be work for you guys.
probably worth it. Just trying again, one of the sort of doodle polls with the timeframes that people could do.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take that on from Anthony.
No, Nikki. Go.
Right.
Maybe we can do a mixture.
Right.
Right, doesn't always have to be the same time.
This is only our second meeting. And we had said once a month. So I'd like to, that we're going to meet again before. It's on the same page.
Maybe the question of chair could group something about it.
We had asked if people to email me if they were interested, and I don't know if anyone thought about it or remembered. I'll send out an email. And just kind of poke everyone a little bit. That's all I have. I will, sure.
Just a quick question, since we're running into issues with residential, have we run into similar zoning issues with like restaurants, anything like that?
Not anything since I've been here that's real big, but I know that our parking requirements are pretty hefty. Because the building is often the footprint of land.
Might be another thing for the planning board to talk.
Mm.
You know,
There's
they
this,
well, they don't. Parking,
parking is land consumptive.
yeah.
You know, it's expensive to build and maintain. It's a heat island. And there's a state that just ruled out that said the towns can't have minimum parking requirements. There's a whole different school of thought on that. I think it's going in a different direction. There's this big fear about, well, won't have enough parking. But, you know, some places are just letting it be more of a business decision.
Oh,
Mhm. Yeah. And they don't have a density allowance, right? There, I don't think there was, yeah.
yeah, they have, yeah.
Their downtown becoming more bustling as a result.
I think Kobe.
Right, right. That's an interesting question. Planning board is that, because we can't do a lot of things. Hmm.
And something that did come up, I don't, it wasn't on the question here, but in talk. Didn't make.
So that, we don't know that.
There was discussion about that, and I just saw, and I went back and tried to find it. I saw a link somewhere to, it's a Zoom meeting, a public forum on riding that trail, and I wanted to get it for this committee in case you wanted to attend or read it. If I come across it again, I'll send it to you. Exciting.
What was it?
Trail, yeah,
A rail trail?
Getting the rail service.
active rail.
That'd be great. So sad that the trolleys didn't survive. Go
Down about the
everywhere.
trolleys.
Yeah, they used to go
Memorial
everywhere.
Drive.
Right, the track, yeah,
for
everywhere.
Augusta. You come up, I live way up, 3 miles. And if you go into the place that Dick Durrett owns, bridge,
The
So it's
reason
a snowmobile trip.
yes, it
It
is.
is?
Mhm.
The reason I know only about it is because I found a 1975 open space plan. And Conservation Commission wants an open space plan, so now we have a jumping off point that I think is good as well, so that's excellent. But it references a potential trail connection via the trolley right of way, and I didn't know that existed until then. So the snowmobile uses it, so it does still exist.
Yeah.
The Gorettes have posted. But Then it goes through.
It'd be fabulous.
Used to, I lived in snowmobile. And that was put in by the late because
They got taken out.
Look at. But yeah. Look.
Mhm.
Pull downtown. Starter.
Right, we gotta fill Brandon's building.
Build it.
That's right.
The rules.
Months.
What?
Couple months.
Couple months?
Great.
We're gonna have an open house.
Maybe a little bit. We're gonna do like a ribbon cut.
When the historical society. Has to have potential.
But you've been in
Needs
it?
a lot of work.
Wow.
I said.
Make a great brew pub myself.
Well, that too.
You know,
it
that,
could
that
be-
brings
it
people,
could be a coffee shop in the evening. It could be.
there's
sand.
land that could be used for an
There's one by
outdoor
the White
space
Ducks.
and it would be perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to have some
Plays
money to
and-
rehab it, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a great location.
I don't think it's open yet. so it's gonna be good.
Gotta keep asking. Maybe Brickyard Hollow, they've been building brew pubs.
I'm going to go ahead and close the meeting. We will determine our next meeting by poll. We'll post it to the public. No one's listening, but in case someone should come back and watch this later, I just want to make that statement.